Welcome to my School of Photography. My name is Robert SK, and today I'm going to show you how to do frequency separation using a Lasso tool. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing. Turn on the notification icon in order not to miss out on the future videos. Like, comment, and share this video. Without wasting a lot of time, let's get started. First of all, frequency separation is a method of separating low frequency from high frequency. In this case of photography, it is separating skin tones from texture. So, step number one, we are going to duplicate the background layer. I'll name this color or skin tones. Let me rename it skin tones. We go to filter, blur, we go to Gaussian blur. So here is the trick when you're working on this Gaussian blur here. The radius of blur you put on the image at this step determines the final texture of your skin. If you keep the radius at a low value, you'll find that your skin in the final result will be very smooth. And if you keep it at a high value, you'll find that your skin will be rich in texture, will have a lot of texture. In order to get the right value, you have to move this cursor. In order to get the right value, you have to move this cursor up to a point where all the texture disappears. So I'll move this cursor up to a value where the texture disappears. I think 6 is fine. Let me use 7 for this image. We press OK. So this is the tones layer. So we now duplicate the background again and remove this to the top. Let me name it texture. So in this image, I'll separate the texture from the skin tones. In order to do that, you go to image, you go to apply image. A dialog box will come up like this one, and here the layer we are going to select skin tones, since we are separating texture of the skin tones layer. The channel is supposed to be RGB and the blending mode is supposed to be subtract, since we are subtracting texture of the skin tones layer. Opacity has to be 100 and the scale has to be the maximum. The maximum scale is 2 in order to remove all the texture. We shall keep the offset at around 128. 128 is a neutral value of RGB, so we shall keep that at 128. So you press OK at that. In order to do away with this neutral kind, with this gray, we go to the layer blending mode and we select linear light. So now the next step, let's group these layers and see. Rename this frequency separation. Frequency separation. Yes, like that. Let's check out something. When I unsee this, let's look closely. When I unsee this group and I see it again, you'll find that there is no change in the image. But when I unsee one of these, you'll find that there is a change in the image. So that means these two combined are the same as the background. So let me first unsee the background layer for us to see what I'm talking about. When I unsee the skin tones layer, you will find that we shall remain the texture alone. And when I unsee the texture layer, you'll find that we shall have the skin tones alone. And when I combine both of them, we shall have our original image. That means what I've done in this frequency separation group I've separated this image into two. I've split it into two. It's like separating instrumentals of a musician from the vocals. Take that as an example. So our next step, we are going to start blending. In order to start blending, we select the skin tones layer. We select the lasso tool since we are going to use the lasso tool. We keep the feather radius at around 18. 15 to 18 is fair depending on the image. Just like that. I also have a video of frequency separation using a mixer brush. If you haven't watched that video, I'm going to leave for you the link up here so that you can also watch that method. You select which one does it better for you. So now we start blending. I'm going to be drawing my selections, and I go to filter here, Gaussian blur. Then I'll move to a value until I have fine skin here. Then I go to the nose area. I go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, like that. You go to this side here, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Just like that. Filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. We have to work on every part of the skin. This area as well as we are working. Don't forget it. Yes, like that. Also these fingers, I'm going to work on them. I'm trying to do this very fast. It is a rough edit for study purposes. But if you're doing yours, you have to be very careful on every part of the skin. Yes, I think I'm done. I think I'm done blending. Let me show you a little bit of the before and the after. This is the before and the after. You see the difference? We've tried to blend the colors in order to get a fine skin. Yes. The next step after you're done blending, you have to work on the texture alone. This is the advantage of working with frequency separation. You work on the skin tones alone and the texture alone. So now when we are working on the texture, we select the texture layer here. We use the clone stamp for that purpose. Yes, I'll have my effect mode at normal. I'll have my effect mode at normal, opacity at 100, flow at 100. You have to make sure your sample is at current layer. When you check your brush here, you're supposed to have hardness at 0. And in your brushes, you have to select a soft round brush for that purpose. Yes, just like that. So when you click, you'll find that they will give you a warning here that you could not use your clone stamp because the layer to clone has been moved or deleted. Alt click to define source point on active layer. So what you do, you have to hold down the Alt button if you're using Windows. If you're using Mac, you hold down the Options button and you click. So what we are doing here, we are copying fine texture, and we click on where there is a blemish, a pimple, or a pore, if you want to cover that. Something like that. You copy from the fine area to the bad area. You have to keep your diameter slightly at the size of the blemishes, the pimples, something like that. Yes, something like that. I'm going to take this very fast in order not to waste a lot of time. When you're removing the texture, you have to make sure you don't remove the natural blemishes. For example, if someone has a birthmark, you can't remove that. You have to leave it because that's their identity. This clone stamp can also help you to deal with the stray hairs in the face. If you look at this, you can see that I can remove these stray hairs that are coming from the hair to have a fine image. As you can see, I'm removing it from the lips, from the teeth here. That is the advantage of working with the frequency separation method. You work with the texture alone and the colors alone. So now I'm working with the texture right now. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing because I have a lot of work. I have a lot to teach you guys. If you keep yourself posted on this channel, you will not miss out on anything. Trust me, your photography career will not remain the same. Yes, you can also visit us on our social media handles at DreamWorks School of Photography on Instagram, on Facebook, and my personal pages of Robert SK. My personal pages are in the names of Robert SK Photography. At Robert SK Photography on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Yes. I think I'm done with the texture. Let me first remove these ones as well. I think you can see. The advantage of this method is that it gives you the perfect image, but the disadvantage is that it takes a lot of time. So you have to have like close to 1.5 hours working on one image to get a perfect result, because you have a lot of blemishes to remove. The more time you take, the better your image. Yes, I think I'm done working on my texture. So that is how easily you can work on an image using frequency separation, the Lasso tool method. I also have a method about frequency separation using a mixer brush. You will check out the link in the description for that. Let me show you a little bit of the before and the after. You can see the before and the after. That is the before and the after. Yes, that is it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell in order not to miss out on the future videos. My name is Robert SK. I'm out.